Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ironman 70.3 Coeur d'Alene Conquer the Course webinar. I have here Jeff Sankoff from Life Sport Coaching. He's also an IMU certified coach, and he's going to be leading the presentation here, and we'll give you a better introduction of himself in a minute here. Just want to let you know, if you have any questions, use the Q&A button at the top. We will try to answer them in the background, and we also may answer them at the during breaks for questions throughout the webinar. If we don't get to your question, I am going to paste in some contact information for Jeff, and so you can reach out to him or schedule time to chat with him after the webinar. We also have Juliet Hockman from Life Sport Coaching in the background answering questions, and then Tim Brocious from Ironman, who will be answering questions about the race specifically. With that, I am going to hand it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Meg. I will go ahead and get started here. Well, welcome, everybody. It is really my pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to talk about an event that I have done a couple of times, once as the full Ironman and once as the 70.3. Of course, for those of you who have signed up, you know that you are going to be in Coeur d'Alene this coming June to do the 70.3 version of the race, and it is a good one. So it's my pleasure to talk to you about how to conquer this course. Again, just a reminder, please avail yourself of the Q&A. Put your questions up in there. I will be breaking at regular intervals to answer some of those. And in an ongoing fashion, Coach Juliet Hockman, a colleague of mine, and Tim Brocious, who is representing the organizing committee for Coeur d'Alene, he will be there as well to answer some of those questions in real time. And again, like I said, I will make some regular breaks to get to your questions in between some of the discussion I'll be giving here. So who the heck am I to be talking to you about any of this? Well, I have been in triathlon myself for over 2 decades now. I started much as I'm sure a lot of you have, and that was as a non-swimmer. I came to triathlon as an adult who really didn't know how to swim. I learned how to swim, completed my first Olympic distance way back when in 2001, and went on to do my first 70.3 event, although it wasn't branded that way, in 2003. And since that time, I've done as many as 100 half Ironmans and 8 or 9 now full Ironmans. I've qualified for the World Championship 7 times, Kona twice. I leverage my full-time job as an emergency physician to write medical and health content for Triathlete Magazine and for Training Peaks. And for the last 5 years, I've been certified as both an Ironman University and USA Triathlon coach. I have had the great pleasure of working with Coach Juliet and Ironman Master Coach Lance Watson at Life Sport, where I have been working with athletes in North America and around the world over the last 4 years. And for 5 years now, I have been working on the Tri-Doc podcast, which is a twice-a-month podcast that comes out that Juliet and I work on together to answer questions from listeners on medical and health related questions. And then I have an interview with someone in the world of multisport. So check that out if you're looking for podcast content. But today, I'm going to talk to you about Ironman Coeur d'Alene. And when I think about Coeur d'Alene, I think this really is one of the top destination races on the Ironman circuit. And there are several reasons for that. It is incredibly popular, and for good reason. It's been around for coming up on 25 years now. I did it the first time way back when in 2005. And I think that if you have been before, you will likely agree with the 5 things that I have on this list, and probably have a lot more that you can add to it. But if you haven't been, you're in for a treat. Coeur d'Alene is located in really one of the more beautiful locations in the Pacific Northwest. It offers an incredibly beautiful, pristine lake for you to swim in. The water is gorgeous, it's clear, it's always temperate. It offers a bike course that I know many of you are probably interested to hear some commentary about, and something that many people come into being a little fearful about. But let's face it, as much as Coeur d'Alene offers a challenging bike course, it's also one of the most spectacular bike courses you could ask for. And the reality is, when you're going into a 70.3, none of these events are easy. And the fact of the matter is let's face it, you want to be challenged, and this course will definitely serve that up. You're not not going to finish Coeur d'Alene and feel like you didn't have to work for it. You're definitely going to, but you're going to enjoy every second because it is really, really beautiful. And once you get to the run, Coeur d'Alene offers one of the best, most well-supported run courses that you're going to encounter. The community is so enthusiastic. Far from some places where you'll go where you sometimes feel like maybe triathletes aren't welcome, Coeur d'Alene is not like that at all. Coeur d'Alene embraces this race every year. They are so happy to have us there, and you will feel that every step of the 13.1 miles of the run. I guarantee it. So let's begin first with just kind of a lay of the land. When you arrive in Coeur d'Alene, you may feel a little bit disoriented if you haven't been there before, even though it's kind of a small town. So what you're looking at here is an overview of kind of the downtown area and where most of the race events are going to be taking place. So this is Lac Coeur d'Alene. Sorry, I'm from Montreal. I speak French, so it's hard for me to say Coeur d'Alene. I will refer to it as Coeur d'Alene. What you're looking at here is this is the Coeur d'Alene Resort. So any of you who are lucky enough to be staying there, you're going to be very proximate to where the race event is taking place. You have the city park, which is where all of the venues for the Ironman Village, where the transition area is going to be, and I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about that. You have the beachfront area where the swim start will be, and this is a really great place to go and familiarize yourself when you get to town, and also a good place to take a practice swim. This is a public beach. It's open. There are no lifeguards, so you do want to be a little bit conscious of that when you're doing your swim. I would suggest when you do a practice swim not to swim out into the lake because, as you can see just from the satellite picture, there's a fair amount of boat traffic on Lac Coeur d'Alene. So when you are doing a practice swim, it is safest and smartest to swim parallel to shore. You can swim quite a ways out and be close enough to shore to not run into any problems with boats. And also, should you have issues, you can get back to shore very easily. This road here is Northwest Boulevard. That's going to come up again when we talk about the bike course. But Northwest Boulevard is sort of the in and out of town. So I don't have it on this map, but just above this map would be Interstate 80, where anybody who's driving in from Spokane or Seattle, most people who fly into the race fly into Spokane and then will drive along Interstate 80. They will exit on Northwest Boulevard, and most of the lodging, the hotels, the motels are located on the north part of Northwest Boulevard towards I-80. Anybody who's renting a VRBO or any kind of short-term rental will be in the town, usually north of downtown or to the west of Northwest Boulevard in these neighborhoods here. And then the downtown core is here in Coeur d'Alene, and it is a really nice downtown. Lots of really nice coffee shops, nice restaurants, nice little galleries and other kinds of shops for buying gifts and things like that. And this is important to know because if you're going with family or spectators, this has got a lot of things for them to do during the race while you're out doing the thing you're going to be doing. There are a lot of really nice places for family members to be able to go and spend time. The question I get from a lot of athletes is, when should I arrive in a town before a race? Now, Coeur d'Alene is on a Sunday. Ideally, it's really nice to get to a race on a Thursday if you can. The reason for that is because it gives you lots of time to be sure that your equipment is in working order. If you have an issue with your bike, you can get to the bike mechanics that are in the village here in the park and get things taken care of. It also gives you a chance to familiarize yourself with the bike course, maybe drive along the bike course if you want, things like that. But not everybody's got that much time. And if you can get there by Friday evening, you'll be just fine because all of the pre-race meetings will take place on Saturday, and you will have time to get your registration packet, your number, and everything else done on Saturday. Remember that bike check-in has to take place on Saturday before 5, so be sure that you are there in plenty of time to get registered, get your bike checked in and everything else before that cutoff. But if you can get there earlier, Thursday is ideal, Friday's fine. Coeur d'Alene, though, is a beautiful place, and if you are able to spend a little bit of time there either before or after the race, by all means, consider doing so. For race morning, I'm going to get to the event itself in just a second, but for race morning, you should know there is a ton of surface parking. You can drive yourself down Northwest Boulevard pretty much up to when the race starts, and you will be able to find lots of parking in the streets above downtown, and also to the west of Northwest Boulevard in these neighborhoods. There's lots of parking. It's very easy to find parking and then walk yourself over to where transition is in the morning. So you won't have any problems there. There are no shuttles for this race. There doesn't need to be. If you're staying in town, you can actually just walk to the race. This is a very small, compact little downtown area and very easy to get around. So I want to begin now with the swim course. And what I've done here is I've superimposed the course map from the Ironman site over the satellite picture of Coeur d'Alene. And you can see here how you start on the beach in front of the city park, and you're going to be swimming directly out into Coeur d'Alene. It's around a 900 to 1,000 meter swim. Then you take a left-hand turn. You're going to make another left-hand turn after around 100 or 150 meters, and you're going to swim directly back towards the park. This swim is fantastic. It's just a beautiful, beautiful lake to be swimming in. The water is generally in the high 60s, which makes it just about always wetsuit legal. And I would encourage you to avail yourself of that. Even if you feel like, oh, I don't love wearing a wetsuit, I promise you it's faster, it makes you more comfortable in the water, and I would encourage you to get used to swimming with a wetsuit in a pool so that when you arrive in Coeur d'Alene, you're going to be comfortable swimming in it for the race. The swim start is a self-seated swim start, which I will get to on the next slide in just a second, and everybody has 1 hour and 10 minutes to do the swim. The buoys are on your left for both the outward and inward legs. And while it may look as though it's a little bit narrow here coming in between the pier and the marina for the Coeur d'Alene Resort, it actually is not. The picture's a little bit deceiving. You actually have plenty of room. There is no pinch points on this course. The swim is very wide open. If you're one of those people who doesn't like to be around other people, that is no problem at all. You can stay to the far sort of right of the buoys and you will have lots of open water, even on the inbound leg. There is no pinch points. It's really, really a very nice and open swim. I just want to touch on the swim start. I mentioned that sort of early. This is a great picture of the swim start taken from that pier that I was showing you that juts out into the lake. And what you can see is people are lining up in this corral. And if you've never done one of these self-seated swim starts, basically what Ironman is asking you to do is guesstimate what your finish time is going to be. And there will be signs along this corral that will correspond to people's predicted swim finishes. So if you are a very fast swimmer, you will see a sign that says under 27 minutes. And then there will be 27 to 30, 30 to 33, 33 to 36, and so on. Remember that no matter where you start, you have 1 hour and 10 minutes to finish the swim. And I think that's really, really important to emphasize, because I think a lot of people who come to these races for the first time don't recognize that it doesn't matter if you start at the beginning, if you start at the end. Everybody has the same amount of time to finish the swim, and it's based on your chip, not based on where you start in this line. So if you are a 50-minute swimmer or a 55-minute swimmer, you're not doing yourself any favors starting up at the start, at the beginning of this line. You should be honest with yourself and put yourself where you actually think you're going to swim. And the reason for that is by putting yourself in too fast an area, you're just inviting yourself to have a lot of contact. People are going to be swimming over you. People are going to be running into you. And that is never a comfortable feeling as a swimmer. So if you put yourself where you actually are legitimately likely to finish, you're going to enjoy your swim significantly more. You're not going to have the same amount of contact, and you will find that the swim will go much smoother for you. So be honest. You know what your swim times are based on your pool swims. You can usually shave off a minute or two, because you know that when you're swimming in a straight line without having to turn around at the end of laps, and when you have a wetsuit on, generally swim times are about a minute or two faster for the 1900 meters than it would be in a pool. So seed yourself accordingly. The other thing I want to mention about this speech is you can see that people at the top here are able to get in the water and do a warm-up swim. And this will be available on the morning of the race. People are able to get into the water. It's far away enough from the actual course, and they are able to get into the water and do a brief little warm-up swim, kind of get limber, able to feel what the water feels like before they get into the corrals. And then once they move down the line, you'll see that the Ironman event staff are here and people are starting. It's usually 4 or 5 at a time. They all go off together, but it's 4 or 5 people at a time, and so there's no mass wave start. There's none of the congestion and the chaos that used to be a feature of the Ironman swim starts. So just getting back to the swim again, you're going to be going out, as I said. Now, one of the things about swimming out into Lac Coeur d'Alene is the sighting. If you've never done an open water swim, you need to learn and practice how to sight, because you don't get lane lines at the bottom of a lake. So you have to be able to figure out which way is the right way to go. And you will be picking up your head and looking for some kind of landmark that you can sight on in order to continue in a straight line. When you're swimming on the outbound leg of the swim, it's a little bit tough to sight simply because the far side of Lac Coeur d'Alene is so far away. There are no distinguishable landmarks for you to sight off of. Fortunately, the water is incredibly smooth. There's no real waves. There's no issues with the water blocking the buoys. And so it's very easy to sight along the buoy line and also just to follow the people ahead of you, unless you're in the lead, in which case you can follow the lead kayak. But I promise you, even though you won't be able to sight on anything on the horizon, following the buoy line is very straightforward for this swim. And then once you make the turn to head for home, it's very easy to sight off of the beach and off of the structures in the park and in the town. And then, if you're just like Dory, before you know it, you will get to experience the exit of the swim. Now, I know that a lot of people do live in a little bit of trepidation for the swim in a triathlon, but I urge you to think of this. The swim is the shortest part of your day. And so embrace it, enjoy it. Somebody once told me when I was getting ready for my first Ironman, and I was very, very worried about the swim, they told me that the swim was the one part of the day when it was completely quiet. You were alone with your own thoughts. Every time you turned your head, you saw all these other people doing exactly the same thing, turning their heads to breathe, bringing their arms out of the water, taking a stroke. And it almost felt as if you were all in a group, like a pod of whales or a pod of dolphins, just all moving forward towards the same finish line. So the more you can learn to just embrace that feeling of togetherness and moving towards the same purpose, then I think that you will learn to enjoy the swim. And if you're one of those lucky people who comes from a swimming background and is really comfortable in the water, well, good for you. Then your swim's going to be over even sooner, and you will feel the sand of the Coeur d'Alene beach under your feet that much sooner. Now, once you come out of the water, you're going to be coming up onto this beach, and you will exit. There will be wading pools for you to wash the sand off of your feet before you move into transition. Please be careful when doing so. I've seen many people come to grief when they are running up off of this beach and they try to run through those pools. Those pools are slippery. So what my biggest suggestion is, as you're running up, pause, step into those pools, shake your feet, get the sand off, step out, and then resume running. That's the safest way to be. I'll pause here for a second, Meg, if there's any questions that I can answer.
Yeah, I have a couple here. What's the best way to calculate your swim time when you're seating yourself, especially if you train in a pool? How would you calculate that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I usually tell people to do a 500 or a 400 TT. And I mean, the best thing is really to do 1,000 TT. So either 1,000 meters or 1,000 yards, and just do it at your race pace. And that will give you kind of your 100 meter or 100 yard threshold pace. And you can pretty much extrapolate that to be your race pace. And whatever that is, then just multiply that by 19, and that should be your expected time. I would then shave off maybe a minute or so, because when you put a wetsuit on, that definitely makes you a little bit faster. So that would be my advice.
Perfect. One more quick one. Are there places to pause on the swim if I need a break?
Yep. Ironman is very good about giving lots and lots of help along the swim. Lots of kayakers will be out there. There'll be lots of boats in the form of usually paddle boats and other kinds of assistance that you will have. So if you find yourself fatigued, if you find yourself in need of a breath, then you just raise your hand, move yourself out of the way of other swimmers so that you don't get contact. And you are allowed to hold on to one of those boats to catch your breath, but you're not allowed to move forward. So you just have to make it clear to the person who's on that kayak or on that paddleboard or whatever you're holding on to that you intend to continue with the race and you're just taking a brief rest. They will talk to you. They will ask if you're okay. You just say, yes, I'm okay. I just need a quick little break to catch my breath. And then as soon as you're ready, you just keep moving forward. You let go and you move on with your race. And there is absolutely no shame and no problem with doing that. Lots of people do that, and you should feel no qualms about doing that. Again, the only issue is just make sure that they're not moving you forward along the course.
Awesome. Thanks. That's it for now.
All right. Then I will move on from the swim into T1. And what I want to say about transition in Coeur d'Alene is that, honestly, I think it's the nicest transition I've ever been in. And the reason for that is because it's located in this beautiful park with its mature old growth trees. It's shaded. It's got this incredible grassy surface that you get to run on. So many times transition areas are in parking lots and you find yourself running over these like gravelly stones and you're just, it's very uncomfortable. Not the case in Coeur d'Alene. Once you get off that sandy beach, you find yourself on this lush turf under these beautiful trees. And it's very tempting to want to just kick back and kind of relax and stay there. I urge you, do not do that. Remember that triathlon is made up not just of the three events, swim, bike, and run, but also transition. That contributes to your time. And too many times I have seen people lose spots where they were trying to be competitive or even not make cutoff times because they spent too much time doing things in transition that they really didn't need to be doing. So, as nice as transition might be at this race, please be quick all the same. One of the ways you can cut down on your transition times is to spend some time the day that you drop off your bike and then again the morning when you are getting all of your gear set up to really reconnoiter. Stand at the place where your bike is and look for where you're coming from the swim. Walk that route. Make sure that you know it by heart, because when you come out of the swim, you're going to be very flustered. You're going to be very your blood flow is going to all the wrong areas, not your brain. So you want it to be very much cemented in your head. Where am I going? What do I need to be doing? And then once you're at your bike, make sure you know exactly how to get from your bike to the bike exit without any false turns, things like that. And then coming back, same thing. How do I get from my bike to the bike rack and then bike rack to the run exit? Make sure you get all of that in advance. And a big thing is really to practice your transitions. That should be part of your training. Even if you're not doing a ton of brick workouts, especially swim to bike, which is a hard brick workout to do, you can still practice those transitions. Spend a day just getting used to pulling off your wetsuit, putting on all of your bike gear, and getting out of there. And the amount of things that you do in transition should be minimized. I see way too many people spending way too much time doing things in transition that they really could have done somewhere else. So for example, do you really need to be putting on an extra layer of sunscreen in transition? Probably not. There's enough really good quality waterproof sunscreen that you could put your sunscreen on before the race begins. You don't need to spend an extra 5 minutes lathering up with sunscreen in T1. Similarly, you don't need to have a whole meal in T1. The bike is your buffet. There's lots of ways to eat on your bike. So don't spend a whole bunch of time eating a whole sandwich and a bag of chips and whatever else you want in transition when you could be eating all your calories once you're on the bike. So minimize the amount of things that you do in transition. Make sure you know the way in and out and get the heck out of Dodge and get to the amazing bike course that Coeur d'Alene offers. All right, here's the bike course. Now, the bike course offers people some spectacular views, but I know, as I mentioned before, it offers a little bit of angst for some as well. So let's address what some people worry about. So the bike course at Coeur d'Alene, I like to always segment these things. I like to sort of think of things in sections. It makes it a lot more kind of approachable and doable. So the bike course in Coeur d'Alene for me can be thought of as 2 short sections and 2 long sections. So when you come out of transition, you're going to turn to the right, you're going to go through the town, you're going to hit the lakeshore, and you're going to go out about 5-6 miles, and you're going to make a turnaround, and then you're going to come on back, and you're going to pass transition before you then hit the really challenging part of the course. So that first 2 sections are going to be fast, and they're going to be really quite easy. And you're going to be feeling really good about yourself because you're going to be like, wow, I'm booking, because There's really not a whole lot of elevation gain. There's a couple of little punchy hills that I'll show you when we get to the elevation chart in a second that happen right around that turnaround, but they're really not dramatic, and you're going to be really moving. The hardest thing to do when you do a race like Coeur d'Alene is to remember when you're on this early part and feeling really good about yourself and feeling like this is so easy and so fast. The hardest thing to do is to remember that, oh, the hard part of the course is over here. So not to push too hard over here. Keep your reserves under control. Make sure this is the part where you start fueling. This is the part where you start taking in hydration. And this is the part where you're saving all of your wick and saving all of your powder, because you know the hard part of the course starts around here. Now, the good part for you if you're bringing spectators is that this is a wonderful bike course for spectators. Spectators who are staying around transition and in the downtown area will get to see you several times on the bike. They'll see you as you leave transition. They'll see you as you come back through town and head out onto the tough part of the course, and then they'll see you again as you come back in and turn back into transition. So spectators will see you, in and out of the swim, and then 3 times on the bike, and then they'll see you again a couple of times on the run. So it's a really, really good spectator course. All right, let's take a look at that dreaded elevation chart. Looks intimidating, I know. Well, here's the first part of the course, right? We talked about that. That's the fast part of the course, and those are those 2 little punchy climbs I mentioned. They don't look like much, but I'll tell you, you definitely feel them. And the thing is, they're actually really good for you, because this first climb comes at about 5 miles, exactly when your legs are warmed up, you're kind of over the swim, and you're feeling pretty good. And you'll get to this first climb, and it's short, but it's a little punchy. And what it does is it kind of makes you stand up out of the saddle a little bit, and it makes you realize, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm into the day. I'm ready to go. You hit that turnaround, you come back, you hit that little punchy hill again, and then you've got a good 10 miles before you hit that first climb that's going to come at 18.5 miles. That second climb is going to come at 23.5, and the third climb is at 47. There is a medium climb here at around 29.5, but that's it. Okay, there are 4 climbs on this bike course. The thing that people get wrong when they do this course is they hit that first climb at 18.5, and because they've been going so hard and they've been really going fast for that first 16 miles or so, they get to that first climb at 18.5 and they make the mistake of thinking to themselves, well, I feel good. I haven't really done anything hard. I'm going to hit this climb and I'm going to go hard. And that's where they get into trouble, because if you burn too many matches going up this big climb, and look, it is a big climb. There's a lot of elevation to this climb, but you know what? It's not that steep. It looks steep because of the way it's compressed on this elevation chart. But the reality is it's not that bad. You can actually see from the bottom, you could see all the way up the climb, and it's really not that bad. So you have to be sure that you don't psychologically psych yourself out. And all you need to do is put yourself in a nice, easy gear and just go. Spin. Just get yourself into a nice, easy spin, keep your power down, keep your heart rate down, and just enjoy. It's beautiful. Don't be baited by the people that are going by you and like look like they're out there on the Tour de France. Some bicyclists are just going to be stronger than you. So be it. Some bicyclists are going to be pushing too hard, and you're going to see them again because they're going to blow up. They're going to go too hard. Don't be one of those people. Instead, be the kind of person who remembers that, yeah, I'm on the first climb. I got 3 more to deal with. So take that first climb and use it as a gauge of how your day is going to go. Spin up that climb nice and easy. Get yourself in a good gear, keep your spin nice and high, and make sure that you stay within yourself. When you get to the top of that climb, you're going to have a nice, fast descent. Now, the descents on the Coeur d'Alene course are all nice and all very fast. If you are the kind of person who likes to descend, you are going to love the Coeur d'Alene course because the pavement is pristine. You will have an entire lane that is basically that is closed to you. You will have a very wide amount of beautiful pavement, and the sight lines are fantastic. You can basically see the entire descent laid out ahead of you. There are no sharp turns. There are no sudden corners. You can see everything. Any curves that exist on the descents in this course are nice and gentle. If you've done races like St. George, for example, St. George has very long descents and very fast descents, but it also has very, very sudden and gusty crosswinds. This course does not have that. This course has very nice, open, very good sight lines and very little in the way of crosswinds. If you're somebody who doesn't like to descend that fast, no problem. You just have to get out of aero. Just sit up in the aero bars, or sit up in whatever bike you have, sit up on those handlebars and allow your body to increase the amount of wind resistance, and you will slow down naturally. If that's not enough to control your speed to where you're comfortable, then start using your right side, your rear brake, to control your speed a little bit more. And only if your rear brake is insufficient should you then use the left hand or front brake. The reason for using the rear brake first is because you will get a more controlled measure of your speed without losing any steering ability. When you use your front brake, you get more powerful braking, but it does tend to make steering a little harder. The other thing I want to say is if you're one of those people who doesn't like to go fast and you want to stay sort of like under control, perfectly fine. Just move to the right. Do not stay in the middle of the road, and definitely don't stay on the left, because while you may not want to go so fast, I guarantee you there will be a lot of people who do want to go fast. So if you want to control your speed, stay to the right. You don't have to be like in the far right, so close to the drop-off or anything. And there are no drop-offs here. I just mean don't be right next to the edge of the pavement. But you can just stay to the right and make sure people have lots of room to pass you on the left. And if you are one of those people going fast, announce yourselves. Don't wait until you're right on top of someone and yell on your left, but just be continuously calling out on your left, on your left. You will have a much freer room to go, and people will move to the right and allow you to go through. So really nice descents on this race course. And I'm sure even if you're someone who doesn't love speed, by the time you get to the last descent, you probably will feel more comfortable, because this course is a great one to get better at going faster. All right, you've made it through that first climb. You're going to head up for that second climb, which is not quite as steep, but not quite as long. And then you're going to hit that third climb at around mile 23.5, and that's going to get you just about to the turnaround. Once you hit the turnaround, you don't really have a whole lot coming back. There's a little bit of a roller, and then you're going to start your really big descents. You do have that last climb at mile 47, and so you do have to remember that. Keep yourself ready. Make sure that on these climbs, when you're pedaling at a slower speed, when you don't have to worry about so much controlling your bike, that's when you're hydrating. That's when you're getting in fuel. And this last climb at mile 47 is really when you want to make sure you get in the last amounts of fuel and hydration, because the top of that climb is a very fast, very long descent that gets you to about mile 52, 53. And from then on in, it's a fast clip all the way back to transition. So is it a challenging ride? Absolutely. Is it a spectacularly beautiful ride? 100%. And are you going to get through it? Yes, because you're going to just keep within yourself, keep spinning up those hills, and you're going to have a great time doing it. Any questions for me, Meg?
Yeah, we have one from a first timer. He's wondering if he should just wear his bike shorts under his wetsuit, or she, sorry, because they're not going to get. They want to prioritize comfort over buying like a triathlon kit.
So very personal choice. The thing about bike shorts is they tend to hold a little more water in the chamois than a triathlon short will. And triathlon shorts have a chamois that is kind of compromises comfort for running with comfort for biking. I have personally found that the chamois in a tri-short is really, really comfortable for biking, and I don't feel like it gives up a lot, but this is a very personal decision. They're not that expensive, so I would suggest that you buy yourself a pair of triathlon shorts with one of those triathlon chamois. It sounds like this is a question from a woman, so there are several companies that make women-specific shorts. Coeur is one, I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the name, but it's Betty something or other is another one. I wanted to say Ugly Betty, but that's a television show.
Betty Designs.
Betty Designs, thank you. And I believe there are others. I know that Win makes women-specific triathlon clothing, and I think there are several other makers that do as well. So I would highly recommend just looking around and finding a reasonably priced pair of triathlon shorts and just try. just try them for one of your long trainer rides or one of your long outdoor rides. I think you'll be surprised, and I think you'll find that they're actually quite comfortable for long bike rides. And then on the run especially, you'll be much more comfortable, because running in bike shorts is not always so comfortable. Any other questions there, Meg?
I believe that is it for now.
All right, well then let's get off our bikes and let's get into T2. And I have kind of the same slide as I had for T1, because let's face it, you're in the same place. And so I'm going to give you a lot of the same advice, which is that this is, again, a beautiful area. And you're going to come off of your bike and you're going to feel a great sense of accomplishment because you've made it through that fantastically beautiful, fantastically challenging bike course. And you may feel like, you know what, it's time for a picnic. But no, you still have one task left ahead of you. And so I want you to be quick, and I want you to get your bike to your rack, and I want you to quickly drop your bike shoes, drop your helmet. You may need to grab some sunglasses. You may already have them on. Put your put your running shoes on, grab a hat, grab your race belt, and out you go, because there's no sense doing anything else in T2. So make it quick, get out of there, and go see your friends who are all waiting for you along the run course, right? That's what you really want, is to get that encouragement, is to get that energy, because you are about to go onto a really, really nice run course, and one that is not nearly as challenging as the bike course was. The run course of Coeur d'Alene is a 2-lap affair that takes you through the downtown core, or, well, not really through it, but kind of skirts around the south of it, and then through these really nice lakeside communities before you drop down onto the lakeshore itself. So you're going to begin coming out of transition, running a little bit through the downtown area, and then around this park. I'm blanking on the name of the park. It's right there, but I can't read it. Anyways, you're going to go around this park, and then you're going to run sort of to the south of downtown through these lakeside communities, and this is where you're going to be amazed at the community support. People will have set up early in the morning. There are going to be bands, there's going to be music, there's going to be hoses, there's going to be people, and they're going to be almost every step of the way. And enjoy it. Enjoy every second. You train so much for this race, you might as well soak in every glorious moment of the adulation that the community of Coeur d'Alene is going to be foisting upon you as you run the first and then second of the laps of this run course, because they really are a tremendous group of people, and they love seeing you out there. So smile, wave, encourage them to keep cheering you on, because they love it. And I will tell you from my own experience being there that they definitely appreciate when athletes appreciate them. You're going to make your way along to this right-hand turn onto the Lakeshore Drive, and this is the one hill that you're going to encounter on the run course. You basically kind of gradually run up to about this 4-mile mark on the first lap, and then it's a downhill to the turnaround. Then when you make the turnaround, you then have to run back up and then down, and then you return to town before you run around the park and then come back. Now, in running around the park, you have that absolutely terrible feeling where you have to run past this sign where it says right to the finish or left to second lap. And I will tell you, it's the worst thing in the world to see that, because you really want to go right to the finish and you're not allowed. So you have to go left, and it's like as you go by, it's like your whole body wants you to go right, and you're like, but it's okay, because you know you're halfway done at that point. And you're going to go out and you're going to go and get all those cheers again. And you're going to be amazed at how many people are going to recognize you and how many people are going to be like, you look so good the second time. It's really awesome. So you're going to love it. That hill, though, I'm going to warn you, it's not much of a hill, but it feels like much worse of a hill the second time around. So save your energy when you're getting through this last part of town and you're heading for that last hill. When you get to that turnaround, the biggest problem with this hill is that you have to hit that turnaround at the bottom, which means you're basically coming to a complete stop and then having to start running uphill. So that's the one part of the run which is a little bit unpleasant, but it's a minor, trivial little thing because you're along the lake here and it's really pretty. Once you get up that hill, it's back down into town, through past your adoring fans, and you're going to make it all the way back. You're finally going to get to take that right-hand turn towards the finish. And I have to say, please, one of the things I see people do, and I have to say I am very much guilty of this, savor your finish. When you hit that red carpet, you are done. all of the hard work that you've put in, all of the time that you've asked your family and friends to give up for you to be able to be ready for this event, it's now come to its conclusion, successful conclusion. So enjoy yourself. Smile. Don't feel like you need to sprint down that red carpet. If you're feeling like you needed to sprint down that red carpet, it's because you probably left something a few miles back. So put in the energy a few miles back and don't sprint on the red carpet, because I got to tell you, nobody likes it when you sprint down the red carpet and pass them and you're not racing against them, right? Because we all started at different times. It's not like we all started at the same time. So don't sprint on the red carpet and pass somebody at the last second. It doesn't make anybody feel good. Instead, everybody enjoy their last few meters on that red carpet. Enjoy your finish. And remember, there's a photographer there. And I can't tell you how many photographs at the finish, and I'm sure Meg can corroborate this, but I would say probably half the photos at the finish look like this. Somebody looking down, looking at their watch as they press stop. Don't be that person. If you must stop your watch as you pass the finish, smile, and you know where the stop button is. So do it with your hand without looking at the watch. But even better, don't even touch your watch until you get past. Once you get your medal, hit stop, because you know what? Everybody on Strava knows it's okay. Your Ironman results are the official results anyways. But please enjoy your finish. You've deserved it. And this is an event that you're going to love. I am sure you're going to come back and do it again, because it is so much fun. It is such a beautiful place. And yeah, I can't say enough about it. So congratulations on taking the step of doing this race. And I'm told there's still spots. So you probably have friends who should be doing it too. Get them involved. That's what I've got. It's been my pleasure talking to you about it. And I would love to answer questions. I'll stop sharing my screen. So yeah. Any questions you got for me? Please bring them.
Sure. Can you talk more about the transition areas? In particular, I understand that there will be a tent area with our bags with equipment, like helmets and shoes. We get our stuff there and then go to our bikes where the racks are. Is that right?
That is for Ironman only. So in a 70.3, your gear is at your bike. In an Ironman, you have transition bags. And unless Tim wants to tell me otherwise, but 70.3 does not use changing tents and does not use transition bags for your gear. 70.3 lets you put your gear, and I want to emphasize minimal gear, at your transition area where your bike is.
Great. Tim's not chiming in, so I'm assuming that's correct. What about this is a little bit of advice on hydration. Best way to hydrate throughout the race. How often do you drink water?
So I don't drink water, because you have to be very careful about electrolytes. Remember that when you're in an event like this, especially in Coeur d'Alene in late June, it's going to be warm, and you don't know what the temperature is going to be. Coeur d'Alene at that time of year has been cold. It's been really, really hot, but most of the time it's going to be pretty warm. So you're going to be sweating, and sweat is not just water. Sweat includes primarily sodium, but sodium chloride. So you're going to be losing a lot of salt. So you have to be careful that you don't replace your fluid losses with free water, because that can get you into trouble with exercise-induced hyponatremia. So you want to be very careful that you're always replacing your fluid loss and always hydrating with an electrolyte-containing solution. That could be anything from Gatorade Endurance to any of the various kinds of drink that are out there. I mean, I'll name a few brands, but there are tons of them out there. Scratch makes products, Infinite, F2C, UCAN, they all make them. But you want to make sure that whatever you're using is not just free water. I will take water from aid stations to supplement my electrolyte drinks, but you have to be careful that the free water you take in is really the smallest amount of fluid you're taking in. Most of your fluid should include electrolytes. And as to how much, that's going to be a personal thing. It really depends on how much you sweat. I am somebody who drinks a liter per hour because I know what my sweat losses are, and that's something you kind of have to practice in your training.
Perfect. One more question right now. If I know my standalone half marathon time, how much more time do you think it'll take me to run a half marathon off the bike?
Super independent, super personal question. Everybody's different. My best advice to every athlete is to not go into a triathlon looking for goal times, because there are so many things that can change on a day. There are so many things that can interfere with how you're performing. For example, the Coeur d'Alene course has a very difficult bike course, and so that can really play into your run performance. And so if you go into a race like Coeur d'Alene with like in your mind, you're sort of fixated on a specific run pace, for example, then you're going to get to the run after a really challenging bike course and find out that trying to sustain that run pace that you had in your mind as sort of this goal run pace is going to be too difficult, and you may overextend yourself early and find yourself walking the back half of the half marathon, which is not what anybody wants. So instead, if you have a coach, you should be working with your coach to determine what your best training will be to get you to your best possible run off of a difficult bike. If you don't have a coach, well, you should. That's why I'm here. But if you don't have the means to have a coach, if you're not ready to have a coach, that's okay too. But the best advice I can give you is, rather than fixating on specific goal paces or specific goal times, instead learn to train yourself for goal efforts. So you want to go out and do a hard bike ride. As we get into the spring and you're able to ride outside, you want to go out and ride 50 miles, a really challenging 50 miles, and then get off the bike and then quickly transition and do a good 6-mile run, and do that 6-mile run at what you think would be a perceived race effort, not pace, but a perceived race effort for a half Ironman, not half marathon, half Ironman. You will see that your legs feel very different running off of the bike than they do running an open half marathon. And by learning what you can sustain as a running effort, as opposed to a running pace coming off of the bike, you will have much more success in triathlon than you will if you fixate on specific numbers like times or paces. So that's my best advice.
Great. Let's do one more question. This is a good one to end on. This person loves the tips for how to really enjoy the experience. Is there anything else you wish someone would have told you before the race to make the most of your race experience?
So many things. So many things. Okay. I would say that one of the biggest things is, do not try to buy your way to speed. There are so many things. So you're going to show up in transition, even before you get to transition, but you're going to show up in transition, and people are going to have everything under the sun that they've spent so much money on. Bikes cost way too much, and all of the stuff that people have. And people will tell you about how this makes them so much faster, or this makes them so much faster. It's all just silliness. Put your investment into yourself. Put your investment into your own training. Put your investment into your own nutrition. Put your investment into your own enjoyment. Don't think that you can buy your way to suddenly become the best triathlete in the world, because you cannot. Instead, work really hard on improving your swim. Work really hard on becoming a better biker. Work really hard on becoming a better runner, and you're going to enjoy the whole process and the whole experience so much more. Can a better bike make you a little bit faster? Sure. But you know what? It's not going to make a beginner biker that much faster. It's going to make a biker who's been really good, really experienced, a little bit faster. So become that good, solid biker, and then think about buying maybe a super bike. But don't think that buying the super bike at the beginning is something we have to do, because we don't. And trust me, I know. I started in this sport as a pure beginner, and I spent oodles and oodles of money trying to become faster. And it took me a long time and a lot of money to realize that it was a failed experiment. The other advice I want to give, sorry, Meg, just one more thing. In the couple of weeks before the race, you are going to feel a lot of stress and a lot of nerves, and you're going to hear a lot of stuff. People are going to start talking about, oh my God, is a wetsuit legal? Oh my gosh, is the weather? Oh my gosh, it's going to be cold. It's going to be hot. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. I did this in my training and you didn't do this. And don't listen to any of it. It's all noise. So in the last month before your race, I need you to trust that the training that you did is enough to get you to your finish line. Everything about a triathlon is to get you to the start. Your job is to get to the start because everything is done at that point. So in the last 2 to 3 weeks before the race, all the noise you're hearing, it's just noise. So focus on the things that you can control and ignore everything else. You control your own training. You control showing up and doing the things that you planned on. You show up and control your nutrition. You show up and control you. You can't control all the other stuff. You can't control the weather. You can't control the water temperature. You can't control those things. So don't worry about them. It's all going to be fine. And you're going to finish and you're going to smile and you're going to think, what were all those people worrying about? So please have fun with the process. I promise you, it's so worth it.
Jeff, that was an awesome answer. It sounds like everyone agreed. That was awesome. Thank you for leading that presentation. Thanks for Juliet and Tim in the background helping answer questions. In a couple weeks, a reminder to everyone, if anyone has signed up for Ironman 70.3 Oregon, we have a webinar coming up on March 27th, which will be led by Juliet. You will receive an email with a link to sign up for that if you haven't already. And then keep an eye out for the athlete guide for Ironman 70.3 Coeur d'Alene. That will be out between 4 to 6 weeks before the event starts. So in May sometime. So be sure to read that before the event, get all your questions answered, and reach out to Jeff or Juliet using the contact info listed at the top of the Q&A form here. All right, everyone, thank you. Have a great race, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.